Hey guys, welcome to the Chalk and Gibbs podcast. I think this is episode 5. And today I have Rebecca Thomas and Deborah Goodwin, sorry. With me to talk about auto insurance. Good times. Rebecca, tell me what you do.
I am an account manager with Chalk and Gibbs. I've been with them for almost 10 years.
And Deborah?
I'm an account manager in personal lines, and I've been there for a little over 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And before that, were you in insurance?
Yes, yeah. I was in insurance before that at another agency.
Yeah, and we're so glad we have both of them here today because they're a wealth of knowledge, but we'll get right into it. So, ladies, what is required for auto insurance in North Carolina?
Well, in North Carolina, you have the minimum state limits, $30,000, $60,000, and $25,000. $30,000 for each person, $60,000 for each accident, and $25,000 for property damage. These are just the minimum state limits. We really don't necessarily require this. Well, we do require this because the North Carolina requires it, but we actually present our quotes to insureds for much higher limits because we are looking for the best protection for our customers. And we also propose physical damage coverage as well with comprehensive and collision coverages as well.
Right. So what's the difference between comprehension and collision coverage?
That's a great question. A lot of our customers always ask that question. Deborah, what do you usually tell them?
Well, you're only required to have liability insurance if you do want physical damage coverage. It's called other than collision or comprehensive or collision. Comprehensive covers any damage to your vehicle from weather-related incidents, theft, if you hit something on the road, anything that doesn't involve a collision with another vehicle.
Okay.
It's helpful if you have any kind of damage from flood or wind and hail, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And collision would be,
that
would be coverage if you have an accident with another vehicle.
Okay. So collision is literally only if you get in an accident with another car, another vehicle.
Right.
And other than collision or comprehensive coverage is any other type of accident. If a tree limb falls on your car because of a storm or a rock hits your windshield.
Right.
So glass breakage and also animals running into your car, a lot of deers. Yeah, we have a lot of deer claims. That would be comprehensive as well.
Okay. Or what about if I am drunk and I run into a mailbox? Is that
be in trouble?
Yeah, you would be in trouble.
But is that comprehensive or collision?
That depends on the adjuster. Sometimes accidents like that would depend on the adjuster, and it could go either way.
I am not advocating for drunk driving. Just FYI. All right, let's see. Why would I need more than the state requirements? Like, why do I need more than just the liability coverage that the state requires me to have?
Well, accidents, as you know, can be very, very costly for repairs, for damage to other people's property, bodily injury to other people. That could go way into the hundreds of thousands in costs. So the minimum limits of 30, 60, 25, that's all you're going to have. So if you have a huge medical bill, hospital bill, property damage, you'd want more coverage.
Right.
We live in a very litigious society, so that's why we also recommend the higher limits as well. Also at Chalk and Gibbs, we like to offer umbrella coverage as well, and this umbrella coverage will go over your automobile limits and your homeowner coverage as well.
Well, while we're talking about that, what is an umbrella? What's a personal umbrella?
Umbrella coverage is extended liability coverage over your existing liability coverage through your homeowner coverage, your auto coverage, and any other comprehensible liability coverage that you may have on a secondary home, rental properties, things of that nature. So it's just extends over the minimum limits of liability that you already have. So it's always a good idea to have at least $1 million in umbrella coverage.
So if you run out of coverage through your homeowner policy or your auto policy, then your umbrella would kick in
Right.
for
Exactly.
some extra coverage for you.
And it's also very affordable. You're talking about a couple $100 a year.
Right. Yeah. Good facts. Do all auto policies, do we talk about this one? Is this the one you don't want me to ask? Do all auto policies include roadside assistance and towing? If I break down the side of the road, is my insurance going to cover me being towed to the nearest?
Only if you
auto
have
shop?
opted to purchase that coverage. So
Okay.
towing and roadside assistance will come together. They'll
Okay.
be together on a policy, and then rental reimbursement would be a separate. But you do have to pay extra for that. And you can only have it if you have physical damage coverage on your vehicle.
So if I just have the minimum limits of
Liability,
coverage,
no,
liability,
it's not-
I'm not
not
going to have
available.
any kind of roadside assistance,
No.
no towing, and nobody's going to pay for me to have a rental vehicle if I
Right.
get in an accident.
Right.
Okay.
Also, on that note, as far as rental reimbursement, rental reimbursement will only apply if your car is being repaired due to a covered peril.
Right.
So if you need to rent a vehicle to drive to Charlotte to go see a Panthers game, that would not be covered under your auto policy through rental reimbursement. Your car would actually have to be in the shop due to a covered peril in order for rental reimbursement to apply.
And it can't just be in the shop because I'm getting my oil changed and my tires rotated.
Right.
It has to actually be being repaired.
As I had an
You got
insured
it.
ask the other day.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. Let's see. If I wreck my vehicle, can my auto insurance pay for me to have a rental? And we pretty much just answered that. So only if it is covered on your policy.
Correct. At the time of loss, the adjuster would, decide if it was covered at the time of loss.
Okay. And y'all talk to me about commercial auto policies versus personal auto policies. So when do you need a commercial auto policy? When do you need a personal auto policy? And what's the difference?
Well, commercial obviously refers to business activity. So if you are running a business and you're using a vehicle, a van or a pickup truck, and you are using it for the job, definitely need a commercial policy. Check with your agent and your carrier, though, to make sure. There are some exposures with a personal vehicle. If you are just a handyman and you're working a job and you're driving your car and you're bringing your tools, that sort of thing.
To and from your
Right,
your
and you
jobs.
don't have a vehicle that would be considered commercial, then you can be covered under your personal auto policy. But you definitely need to make sure that if you have any type of business exposure that might have to be insured commercially, that you do that.
So you need to be
Because-
very transparent with your agent about
Yes,
what you're
exactly.
using your vehicle
Absolutely.
for.
Yes, because you could
Absolutely.
be denied if you had a claim.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, if I am cleaning houses and, I take my house cleaning products to and from my jobs, is that a personal auto policy or a commercial auto policy?
That is a commercial exposure, and you would definitely need to talk to your commercial agent to make sure you are properly insured.
Okay. Good to know.
However, we also get the call from realtors, real estate agents. They are insured under personal insurance.
That's good to know. So even though they're driving to show clients homes, with their vehicle, they're using their vehicle to and from their job sites, that would still fall under the personal auto.
Right, but if you're delivering goods or anything like that, definitely commercial.
Delivering goods. So if I work at a restaurant and I'm doing DoorDash or
Yes, so if you have signage on your vehicle, that would also be an indicator that you would need a commercial policy. However, on the personal policy format, there are specific riders. If you are an Uber driver or DoorDash, we can insure your car through the personal format, but we do need to make that transparent on the application and let your underwriter know that as well. So once again, just make sure that you are informing your agent and letting them know exactly the purposes for your transportation and what you're up to. Just let us know.
Yeah.
And we just love to talk with our customers and just know what you're out there doing.
just so we can make sure that you're properly
we can only insure
insured.
you if you tell us what we're insuring.
Exactly. Yeah. So what am I responsible for out of pocket if I get in an accident?
The deductible, and then anything over the limit, which of course is why the umbrella insurance comes into place there as well. But a lot of people don't understand the deductible. Usually we will quote a $100 comprehensive deductible and a $250 collision deductible. Obviously, you can quote other limits as well, but you are responsible for your deductibles as well.
So say something, kind of insignificant happens, like a rock flew and hit my windshield, or I got, a small ding in my door, something that's not going to cost a whole lot of money to repair. That's when it would be beneficial to have one of those lower deductibles, because if you have a $500 deductible on your auto policy for something like that, then it's not going to be worth it to file a claim to have something like that.
And when it
repaired.
comes to glass breakage, that's sometimes a different type of coverage too. So it
Right.
might be a different deductible, or it's a different claim. Yeah.
Okie dokie. What factors make my auto premium higher or lower?
A lot, really.
A lot.
Your driving history, how many speeding tickets, Deborah, you get, how many accidents you're involved in, and how many years of experience you don't have. Also, the symbol in the VIN number. A lot of people don't understand that in the 17-digit VIN number, there is a built-in symbol in which each auto company derives a premium from as well.
Very interesting.
Yes, and also the violations that show up on your DMV record are not necessarily the same as insurance points. That's something people don't understand. They'll say, well, I have no points on my driver's license, but I have 3 points on my insurance MVR report. It's different. Your insurance companies count amounts paid for claims, and if they're at fault or not at fault, and they assign points based on that.
Okay.
Exactly. So to go off on that, a lot of people say, well, I paid an attorney to dismiss that speeding ticket or reduce it to improper equipment. Well, that may be so, but in the auto insurance world, they're still going to rate you in a higher tier. So you may not have those points on your driving record, but it's still going to rate you in a higher tier.
They still know about it, regardless if it got dismissed or got moved to a lesser charge or whatever.
Exactly.
They're still going to know.
Yes. They know everything.
They do.
So other than that, I mean, simple things like higher amounts of coverages will make your premium also be higher.
That's true, but not significantly.
Lower deductibles will make it a little higher, yes. And actually, not only inexperienced drivers, young drivers, older drivers, unfortunately, are being penalized by some carriers. Yeah.
So if you're old and you can't see and you're one of those people that drives 20 miles under the speed limit, your insurance premium might be a little higher than a 30-year-old with no speeding tickets and no issues.
Yes.
And a 16-year-old brand new driver will probably be more expensive, someone very inexperienced.
Most definitely.
Makes sense. Let's see. What? Nope, you didn't want me to ask that one. We already covered if you use your personal vehicle to transport you from work. So, what are some frequently asked questions that y'all get when you write auto coverage? Like when someone calls, what kind of questions do they want answered?
What's the main one? What's the cheapest price?
Yeah. Everyone wants the cheapest price. That's unfortunately the number one factor. They don't understand how valuable an agent is when it comes to having auto insurance. Not only are we there to answer any questions that you have, but we can shop your coverage for you upon renewal. But we also have an in-house claim service as well. So there are a lot of benefits involved for having an agent and not necessarily going to, someone that a cheap insurance or for insuranceonline.com.
Or Progressive, straight to Progressive, or straight to Travelers, or
Geico.
Yep. Any of those companies that you can just call. I mean, you might get to talk to a real person eventually, but it's a lot more of a,
Holding it's not personal at all.
Yes, it's more of a personal experience to go through an independent agency like Chalk & Gibbs.
And we can also shop different carriers, whereas you're locked into Allstate or the General or Geico.
Right.
They don't. We have other carriers that we can quote with.
Exactly.
Another thing is anytime you have a new driver or you're going to go buy a new car, which is very exciting, one of the North Carolina rules is you have to have proof of coverage for a new driver before they go and get their driver's license. So that's a North Carolina rule. So what you do is you just call us and we will add your child to your policy, and we will print a form for you called a DL123. We will email it to you. That way you will have this form available when you go to the DMV for your child to get their driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're buying a new car, they need proof of coverage before you can purchase the car.
They just really need your policy. If you have an active auto policy, you have coverage on a newly acquired vehicle for up to 14 days.
Wow.
For full coverage, yes.
Okay.
Now, we don't recommend you wait. The sooner the better, of course, because a lot of dealers require a binder anyway. But if you're out on the weekend and you want to buy a car and you have an active policy, you have coverage.
So there's a little grace period,
Right.
2-week grace period
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But they need if it is a first car purchase,
And you have no insurance,
then you would need an
do have
FS1.
right, yes, so you would have to purchase a policy.
Okay.
Right.
I see. Any other frequently asked questions y'all get a lot?
Well, we covered the points on your license versus your insurance points. Premium price. Also, don't ever be afraid to ask us to shop. I mean, we see it every day. We will quote something with a carrier and the premium is half of what they're paying. We have no control over that. It's the companies that do that. So, just always, if you think you're paying too much, just give us a call and we'll be glad to shop it for you.
And how about, a 6-month policy, a 6-month auto policy versus a 12-month auto policy? And, is there any benefit to one or the other? And renewals, like, why does my insurance premium go up so much at renewal?
Well,
That's we get that question all the time. It's very unfortunate that insurance rates do increase every year, and that is
Without fail.
Yes.
That is set by the insurance department. So we do not have any control over that.
Our control lies in being able to shop
right.
the
But one
coverage
thing
for
to
you.
note, if you do have any violations, they don't go on your insurance policy until the renewal.
So that's a
So-
benefit of getting an annual policy over
Right.
a 6-month policy.
And that would be a reason it would go up, too, that something you got the year before has finally been showing up on your policy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess one benefit to the annual versus 6-month policy is the annual policy, you're locked into whatever premium it is versus the 6-month policy could be $300 the first 6 months
Right.
and $500 the second 6 months. So it
Right.
could go up.
That is
Just
correct.
don't know.
But you also get a really large discount if you pay in full. So if you are able to pay in full for a year, that's best case scenario. If not, the 6-month pay in full is the second best case scenario.
Good to know. All right. Well, I think that sums up the auto portion of our
Okay.
talk. But now I just want to ask both of you some general questions about your time in insurance, because both of you have a ton of insurance experience and,
Well,
a day
Rebecca
in the
has
life.
a lot more than I have.
Well, I think you're both very knowledgeable and an asset to Chalk and Gibbs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love working there.
We
really
do. That's true.
Sometimes.
It's a great company.
Just kidding.
It's not Chalk and Gibbs, it's the industry.
Yeah, there you go. So, speaking of the industry, what is one of the most outrageous things anyone has asked y'all to insure over the life of your career?
Well, we were talking about that earlier, and I don't really have anything that outrageous. I mean, in where I worked before, we insured an emu farm.
I feel like that's kind of out of the norm.
But that's about the most outrageous thing I could think
Where was
of.
the emu farm?
It's somewhere outside of New Bern.
Okay, so not that far away.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, that's fun. I had a guy, he wanted me to insure a dune buggy that he and his daughter had built together. So it was
I remember
sort of a kit that he bought, And then he and his daughter, it was something that they built together, was a dune buggy, and they lived in Beaufort. And I don't think I was able to find coverage for the dune buggy that was made by he and his daughter, but I thought that was pretty cool nonetheless.
Yeah. Was it because it was, hand built by them?
And it was a kit.
I think it's a kit, okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions on a personal auto application regarding customization and special equipment and things that would make them ineligible. So
they always want to know if you have any kind of, personalized paint job or anything like
Right,
that when they're writing coverage. Didn't you have to quote some kind of like armored RV type thing one time, or am I imagining that?
Now that you mention it, yes. So, nowadays it's a lot of people are really into the tiny houses. And, back in the day, living down by the river in an RV was something that your loser ex-boyfriend would want you to go do. But nowadays, it's, becoming something really fun and recreational. It's exciting. Even my husband, he's dying to rebuild an RV. So we do get those phone calls where people have bought a school bus and they've remodeled it into an RV. And those can be tricky to insure as well.
What makes it tricky to insure? Is it just because of the customized part? Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of tiny homes now.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So how do you insure a tiny home? Is it an auto or is it a homeowner?
It depends. It's considered
RV?
a mobile home.
Mobile home.
It's not, if it's titled as real property, it could be considered a manufactured home or a residence. Yeah.
Are they expensive to insure?
No,
Not really.
Can you include wind on them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I have not done one of those.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Well, we're the experts on it.
Yes, you must be.
Don't use a sparrow.
What's a common misconception about insurance coverage at the coast? Do y'all get any common, like, oh, I didn't know that, or that can't be true, or any common misconceptions about coverage here?
So on the coast, we have a lot of secondary homeowners, and the first shock is the price. And the second shock is that wind is excluded from their homeowner price because, of course, they're comparing it to their, what they're paying for their Raleigh property or Greenville property. So, wind and hail and flood are excluded from the homeowner policy.
So there's a sticker shock there when they see how much it costs to have wind coverage in a high-risk area.
And we have some carriers that you can write wind with it, and they're usually pretty high.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other just things that stick out about writing coverage at the coast?
No, that's the main thing. People don't understand the difference between wind, hail coverage. A named storm, there's also an option for named storm where you can have a lower premium because you have a named storm deductible.
So a deductible that only applies
to a named storm, such as a hurricane or a tropical storm that has a name.
Anything that the National Hurricane Center gives a name to.
Right, right.
Okay.
And you don't want to try to get insurance when there's one on the horizon.
Right.
That's right. So companies will put out moratoriums in advance. So make sure you have your wind and hail coverage or flooded coverage and your homeowner's coverage in place and automobile coverage.
Yes.
Make sure all your policies are paid in full and active before storms come. And storms do not only come during August through November.
Right.
We have had many storms come the week after Christmas. So nor'easters.
Or even as early as, some tropical storms in June and July and
Absolutely.
too. So it's definitely important to have your coverage in place because they will put, the binding restrictions when that storm is way down in Puerto Rico or, the Bahamas, not even close to us, even if they think it might come up here. They'll go ahead and restrict the ability to bind any kind of wind and hail coverage.
That's right.
And also flooding. People need to realize that flooding is a totally separate coverage policy. So, and a lot of people don't understand the difference between rising waters and, flooding in your house from a broken pipe.
Right, yeah. That's a good thing to think about. What is one thing you wish everyone understood about insurance?
We had that written down, didn't we?
Oh, just one thing.
It could be 5 things. What's 3 things? As many things as you want to tell me. Who wants to go
Go ahead,
first?
Rebecca.
Your rates are going to increase from year to year, but that is why we are here to hold your hand through that process. And we will do the best that we can to mitigate those higher expenses. Companies do try to come out with different credits each year. So we will work with you to help discuss those different credits, whether it be a fortified home or certain certifications, different roof structures.
Senior citizen discount.
If
you have alarms.
Alarms.
Tankless hot water heaters.
Tankless hot water heaters.
If you live in a gated community.
Gated communities, yeah.
Paperless delivery.
Paperless.
Paid in
Everybody's
full.
going
Deliveries.
electronic. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Things like that.
there are all sorts of things that we can help you as an agent mitigate those rising costs every year.
Another thing to note, too, is a lot of people that have secondaries that are rentals, they have what are called dwelling fire policies. And we usually write it with the North Carolina
Joint underwriting.
Right. In this area, they seem to be the go-to. It does not include liability.
Nor does it include wind-driven rain and hail.
Right. It's
So-
a lesser coverage than a homeowner's. So just be really careful. Make sure you know what is covered with these
And
policies.
dwelling policies are closed peril or open peril?
They are named peril,
Named peril.
aren't they?
So I know a DP3 is an open peril. It covers everything.
That covers wind-driven
Right.
rain. Right. The
Okay.
DP2 will cover fire, theft, explosion, basic things like
So
that.
it only covers perils that are named
I
on
think
the
so.
policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since we talked about it, and my dad and I talked about this in the last podcast, but tell me what wind-driven rain is. Wind-driven rain is not the same as a hurricane.
Water damage
Water
from
damage.
a hole in your roof. Right.
Right.
Or any
So
kind
if a
of
tree
damage.
falls on my roof, that is going to be covered by my wind policy.
Right.
Right.
But if it is just a really, really bad thunderstorm and
So
my siding is old.
Nor'easters.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of those. And anytime the nor'easter comes around and they blow the wind underneath your door or underneath the window,
And a crack in the window without
rain,
there being
right.
without there being a hole
No
that
damage.
was made by
Right.
something.
exactly
That
that
is wind-driven rain.
you got it.
Yep.
Cool. And that's a really important coverage to have around here, other than just your windstorm and hail and
Right.
coverage.
It is.
Exactly.
So, any other things you want your insureds to know? You wish people would know about insurance?
I thought there were some other things, but
Chalk and Gibbs is an independent agency. We are not a captive agent. So we do have the ability to shop many markets. So, if in the event, your Farm Bureau drops you, please give us a call and we will help shop that for you.
So, insurance companies like Farm Bureau, is
Allstate,
State Farm,
State
Allstate,
Farm.
Allstate,
Yeah.
State Farm, Progressive, Geico.
Yeah.
They only have one market for coverage, and that's them. Whereas Chalk and Gibbs and other independent insurance agencies are appointed by many different insurance companies, and we have the ability to shop around and find you the best
right.
premium
Right.
and
just
coverage.
Yeah. And just make sure that we know what we are insuring, what your risk is.
Right.
We need to know everything about your dwelling, your vehicle, your exposure, everything that you have going on to make sure that we can provide you the best coverage.
Right. We need full transparency, because if you are not covered properly, then in the event of a claim, they could deny your claim. So
And
if
ensure to value. Make sure that,
Exactly.
you have
Yeah.
enough coverage for your dwelling.
Right. And if you're not transparent, if you are using your vehicle for work and we don't know that, or if you do have a breed of dog that is not allowed with your insurance carrier, or any various thing like that, then that could be a reason that the insurance company could deny any kind of claim.
And it's not
Absolutely.
a problem until it's a problem.
Exactly. So you might think, my dog is so sweet and would never bite anybody, or, I
Yeah.
just used my van to go to and from, my house cleaning jobs or whatever. No big deal. But then when something does happen and you're not covered properly, then you'll
Yes.
be kicking yourself.
Yes.
Also, how the home is deeded. So that's also become something else. So if your home has been deeded to a trust or an LLC, it is important that you let us know that so we can properly name the insured correctly. And that's not going to harm you in the event of a claim as far as if they're going to pay you or not. But in the event that you do have a claim and the check is made payable to someone other than whom the property is deeded to, then your bank will not cash the check. So there again, it's important that if your home is deeded to a trust or an LLC, to please let your agent know.
Yep, full transparency. Very important. Anything else y'all can think of?
The only other thing, speaking of banks, the only other issue is if you have a mortgage.
Good times.
We
love banks.
We insure the dwelling, not the property. On the coast, it's a real issue because property value is really high.
But Deborah, my loan is for $500,000, and my bank is telling me I need $500,000 worth of coverage.
And your
for my
bank would
homeowner
love
policy.
to have that much coverage to cover their loan in the event that something happens, so the lot would be paid for also. But
So you're telling me that even though my house is only worth $300,000, but my loan, for the house and the land it's sitting on is for $500,000. The insurance company is not going to insure me for the full $500,000 like my bank wants me to?
if we don't find the dwelling it would take that much to replace the dwelling, no, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't make the insured have more coverage than they need.
Good to know. And will mortgage companies accept that eventually?
Eventually.
Yeah, they put up a little bit of a fight.
Yes, they do.
But they will require a replacement cost estimate, which is not something they always get. But
No.
how do we get around that?
Well, we can point out that it's a law that they can't do that. Also, you just tell them we don't provide that. There's no way, we can't guarantee replacement costs. There's no way we can predict 5 years down the road what it's going to take to rebuild a particular house.
Especially, in times like these when
Right.
my husband is a builder and building prices are astronomical.
Yeah, so you are opening yourself to a huge, claim.
Discrepancy
if you, So
Just don't know.
we're looking out for the insureds.
That's right. We're always looking out for our insureds.
Yes.
That's right.
Anything else y'all can think of as far as
I'm
things
sure
you
there's tons and
want
tons,
insureds to
but
know?
what people are falling asleep about now, probably.
We'll split it up into tiny little
Oh,
segments.
okay.
So, okay, what are some challenges you have to overcome with placing insurance coverage at the coast? Since
well.
we're unique and we're at the coast.
The age of the home is probably the number one challenge I've found.
Why is that a problem?
If your home is older than 30 years of age, or your roof is 15 years of age or older, these can just present problems. Insurance companies really try to limit their exposure on the coast, and this is the number one way they do that is, they want newer homes. So older homes or homes that have polybutylene piping, which is gray in color. So anyone can Google polybutylene plumbing. That would be a big one.
Fast three
What
times.
is it?
Polybutylene plumbing, polybutylene plumbing, polybutylene plumbing.
If your home has polybutylene plumbing, good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, really.
No, but honestly, writing coverage at the coast is challenging with an older home, it's even more challenging because it presents a greater risk to an insurance company if your roof is old and it can be damaged more easily, or your home is old and they would obviously prefer to write newer homes that have been built recently to code and whatnot.
And then you have the replacement value issue. You can't necessarily get replacement value, which means they're going to replace it at actual cash value, which you can lose a lot that way. So
Right. So what is actual cash value, Deborah?
that is, they take the value of an item and they depreciate it over how old it is, how worn it is, and they come up with an actual cash value, not a replacement cost to take something and replace it with something new.
Right. So if I built a house in 1950 and it burned down and my house is insured on an actual cash value basis, I am likely not going to get enough money to rebuild that house.
Right.
As a new version of that house.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else y'all, any other challenges y'all have come up with or faced with writing coverage specifically at the coast, flood coverage or?
Well, flood's a whole nother segment.
Yeah, we'll have to cover
become
that
very
in another
complicated
episode.
Yes.
All right. And if you could tell someone the 3 most important things they need to know about insurance, what would they be?
There you go. Didn't we write those down?
Yeah. Well, we discussed the replacement costs. You want to make sure that you have your home is based on insured for replacement cost value versus the actual cash value.
Mm-hmm.
You also want to make sure that you have been transparent with your agent as far as how your home is deeded, the occupancy, whether it's your primary, secondary, rental exposure, if it's Airbnb, VRBO. Those are very important things. And in today's society, a lot of people love to Airbnb their home, which is great, and we can certainly accommodate that. We just need to know. Also, the last one, again, the rates. The rates are not set by Chalk and Gibbs. The rates are set by the insurance department, and that is why
there's not always anything we can do about it other than shop around and see if we can find you a better rate. And it's just it's not always possible.
No, it's not.
And that's all we've got today for auto insurance. If you have any questions, leave us a comment below, and we'll try and cover it in a future episode. And thanks for listening.